Why did you even want to write this memoir?
There's some things that I didn't like the narrative.
From what I'm hearing from you, it doesn't feel the level of success you guys attained and the recognition you brought to Canada, to this country, financially it didn't match.
Oh, no, not at all. When I was competing and I addressed certain things like racism and all that stuff, I was looked at as somewhat, I guess difficult or outspoken, I guess we'll say. Every time I see the race, I'm thinking, what would my time have been had I not been, hadn't I just had like the worst start in the history of the world? People say to me that I felt whole when you put the boots to Michael at the Skydome.
The one, the only Donovan Bailey. Fastest man in the world. Fastest man in the country.
At one time. Yeah, still.
Yes.
Still got
that. Come on now.
Still got that.
Come on. It's such a pleasure to have you here in studio.
Thank you for having me. We've been talking about this for a minute.
Yeah, and congratulations on your memoir that is out. Undisputed, A Champion's Life.
It's been doing quite well. I mean, I still on the bestsellers list, or
I'm just gonna remain there.
It's the first book I actually completed, by myself. It's certainly my story. I certainly have shared some incredible sporting moments.
Incredible or iconic?
Iconic,
yes.
Legendary.
Yes. I think the words need to be a little bit bigger than.
Yeah, you know what? I apologize. This is what I'm saying. That's why I love you, man. That's why I love you. Yes, legendary and iconic moments.
Before we even get into the memoir, knowing that you still hold that title as the fastest man this country has seen, does that still shock you?
In order for you to be successful at anything, you have to have a healthy ego. Mm-hmm. We can call it confidence or whatever. So I think when I was competing, I expected to be the greatest in the world, mm-hmm. and that's who I became. Now, the fact that someone like Usain came along mm-hmm. and shattered, my Olympic record and the world record is incredible. So that's someone you kind of go, yeah, man, you have done great things. However, I'm also someone who's cheering for the next generation to come in and do incredible things.
Yeah. Why did you even want to write this memoir?
The number one thing is that people keep asking me about it. I've always been snippets or subjects of parts of books or parts of movies. Mm-hmm. There's some things that I didn't like the narrative.
Right.
And fortunately, I got a book deal, mm-hmm. and I thought that this was the time. Also, I think that in the 90s, when I was competing and I addressed certain things like racism and all that stuff, I was looked at as somewhat, I guess difficult or outspoken, I guess we'll say. But I think that today is the right time. Today is the time that we can sit down and have a conversation with anybody.
Yeah.
And you're respected and listened to.
Well, let's clear up some of those narratives, because I know, come on, you know what I'm saying? Because it is a different time, right? Well, there's a particular incident, right, that you talk about in the book. Well, there's a few, but I know there's one that stands out to you,
right?
Because you wanted to talk about the mistreatment of black athletes.
Right.
Nobody wanted to talk about back then. Nobody wanted to see. Probably some people didn't even believe that black athletes were being mistreated.
In the book, I addressed the fact that I grew up. I'm from the country in Jamaica, and I left from the country and I moved directly to Oakville. Yeah. Leaving Jamaica and then coming to Oakville and then addressing a lot of these things, people just thought I didn't know my place.
What do you think they perceived your place to be?
I think that LeBron had a famous quote, and it was the "shut up and dribble" quote. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of the athletes before me that represented this country, and also, around the world, where it was just shut up and run. So some of the treatment that I was getting personally, I was not going to tolerate it. So I was whether I was speaking to the CEO or the head coach, I'm going to address them exactly how I'm going to address them. Sometimes that didn't come over too well because, unfortunately, because they control the narrative, they're going to say, oh, he's a difficult guy to work with. How am I a difficult guy to work with? I'm asking you a question. I'm asking if you're doing your job, and then I'm asking you how are you respecting me? Because I'm the number one athlete in the world wearing your uniform. So I'm making your job so much easier for you to go get sponsors, for us to get track meets, for our team to make money, for our team to win gold medals. Yeah, so I was deemed that way because I was presenting things.
And they're off, and it's up to Robert Esme to run the bend and make the clean exchange to Glenroy Gilbert, and he came flying out of the box. He did blast off. There goes Gilbert down the back straight. Gilbert is in a battle with Tim Harton, and now the third exchange. Marsh and Bruni Surin, and Bruni Surin has the lead. He's going to hand off in front, it would appear, to Donovan Bailey. A clean exchange, and Donovan Bailey is pouring it on. It's going to be double gold Canada. Oh, if you're Canadian, you have to love Saturday nights in Georgia. 37-69 for Donovan Bailey and the Canadian relay team.
Our relay team is the best team in Canadian history, right? And so, I wanted to be treated that way. I wanted our team, like individually, I was the best in history in this country. I know that, but I also expected the team to be that way. But the team looked like Bruni from Haiti, Glenroy from Trinidad, Robert and Carlton from Jamaica. At no point whatsoever should you have members of a team, and especially a team comprising of 5, 6, 7 guys. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty easy to go find corporate dollars to make sure that none of those guys ever work again in their lives. It's going to take generations to have another team like that. Right. There's no point that any of those guys should be struggling.
It doesn't, from what I'm hearing from you, it doesn't feel as if the level of success you guys attained and the recognition you brought to Canada, to this country, financially, it didn't match.
Oh, no, not at all.
Do you think if you guys were white, you would have been treated differently?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't be that fast, so it wouldn't matter. Listen, it's not a color thing. We just wouldn't have won. We just wouldn't have won. There's some fast white dudes, but yeah, we couldn't have had 6 fast white dudes.
Way first on, they got a good one there. Christie didn't go too badly away, but flying in the centre is Bolden, and now here comes Donovan Bailey. It's Bailey wins it.
How do you deal with the haters?
The greatest problem that I have is that I've shared dreams with people who don't have that bandwidth. And that's the easiest way to kill a dream, is that you're having a conversation with someone, you're like, hey man, I want to be the greatest ever. And they're like, why? Why do you want to do that? And you're thinking, why not? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I have one gear. I don't understand how people have, many. I don't understand how you ride on neutral, because you don't.
You just run fast.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly. Fast, straight ahead, and get it done. Yeah, man. So,
but does that apply to all aspects of life? Because sometimes slow and steady wins the race.
Come on, Brandon. Slow and steady win a few races. Slow and steady got to win some races, for sure.
Producer Hope, can you pass this iPad for me? I want to bring you back to this iconic moment.
Oh, jeez.
1996. Mm-hmm. This is Atlanta. I'm sure I don't know if you remember this. You were probably laser focused.
Yeah.
We remember it because we were watching.
I was in here?
Laser focused on the TV.
Okay. Oh, man. Horrible.
Horrible start?
I was the sixth guy. There were 7 people in the race. I was the 6th guy out of the blocks. Okay, I've seen it a couple of times, and I've also commented on it. You hold on to this. I was the 6th guy. I was the 6th guy out of the blocks. Every time I see the race, I'm thinking, what would my time have been had hadn't I just had like the worst start in the history of the world, right? I mean, my coach Dan said, I'd have smashed, I'd have crushed the world record. He said to me he'd expected me to run between 9.6 and 9.7. But when I look at it, it's a race. I look at it as a race. I know that it's an iconic moment that Canadians celebrate every single year and will celebrate forever until we have another Canadian who's capable of getting into the 100 meters at the Olympics and breaking a world record doing so. But dude, I love the fact that I've just shared moments like that and then go on to be serenaded by the national anthem.
Being in that moment, getting the gold, hearing the national anthem, did it make you emotional?
Yeah, for sure. Rewriting history books is something that few human beings on this planet get to do. It's something that you can never forget.
In the mid-90s, Michael Johnson and Donovan Bailey were the stars of track and field. American Michael Johnson dominated the 200 and the 400, while Canadian Donovan Bailey was king of the 100. They both broke world records, collected gold medals, and were known as the world's fastest man. And the talk was over. It was time for action.
Bailey on the inside, Johnson on the outside. Bailey with a great start running through the turn in the lead. Now they race towards the finish. Johnson pulls up. Bailey's going to win it. Donovan Bailey looks back.
I think it was the first time that Canadians actually had balls. Like Canadian kind of go, oh man, I'm tired of being like, the northern stepbrother.
Right.
And so most times when true sports fans, especially those people that were hanging off the rafters at the National, at the Skydome at the time, Rogers Center for those of you who are young, people say to me that, like, as opposed to the Olympics, which is a legendary, iconic moment, I felt whole when you put the boots to Michael at the Skydome, because it was the first time I actually felt proud. People were always talking about my swagger at the Olympics, but it's like, yeah, you owned it then. You owned it then, and that's a time when, people say to me, you called the guy a chicken, dude.
He didn't pull up, he's a chicken.
You've had such a interesting relationship with Canadians, with the media. Because it's like, you do get built up to be a hero.
Right.
And yet the same people or institutions that do that can also try to destroy you at the same time.
Right.
Sometimes,
You know what's really funny? I didn't actually understand the intense competition that journalists have in breaking stories and having their own Olympic moment, right? And not until I start to work in media as an analyst, I kind of understood that there's people out there that are in the field that the entire job is to try and is to break a story or to break you. That's something I think that you have to balance and something that you probably have to weigh yourself morally and ethically. For me, when I think of misunderstandings or negative narratives that's been brought by one or two people, I've never ever give them any credit or the space in my brain is way too expensive to rent to allow someone like that to come in.
You've won at so many things in your life. Has there been anything that you've ever lost at?
I've lost at all the things that I've won at. No, so there's been several businesses that I've tried. There's several things. Dude, you know what I wanted to desperately be, as a teenager?
What?
I wanted to be a NBA basketball player.
So if you didn't become a track star, you wanted to be an NBA player?
No. I wanted to be an NBA basketball player.
Okay.
To this day.
You still want to be an NBA basketball player?
You understand? No, but I'm saying to you, though, it is like, there's nothing that I'll ever, you talk about the things I've failed at. Dude, I mean, you don't see the races I've lost. You don't see the injuries that I've had. You don't see the times I've puked in practice, passed out in practice. The days that I got home but I'm exhausted and passed out on the carpet on the way to the kitchen. You know what I mean? So people always see the glamour. I've never used failure as anything other than a learning experience for me.
You really have a championship mindset.
That's what they say. That's why I got a couple of gold medals. A few.
You're good at
a lot.
You're good at predicting things too. So I mean, since you're so great at predicting things, what is your prediction for the Olympics this year?
Oh man,
who's taking that gold medal in the 100?
So the Americans are gonna come hard.
Yeah.
But the Olympics this year in 2024, it's wide open. There's no one very specific that's dominating. On the women's side in the 100 meters, man, I'm looking forward to Sha'Carri Richardson, the U.S., versus Shelly Ann Fraser, versus Sharika Jackson, versus Elaine Thompson, versus every other young Jamaican woman oh man. I think the Olympics is going to be epic this year because there's so many phenomenal athletes that can do incredible things.
Knowing what you know now, after everything you've experienced in life, is there something you would tell your younger self? And if so, what would that be?
I probably would say be more patient. I have no patience and I have less tolerance. And maybe back in the day, there's some people that were sensitive to who I am, and take things personally when I'm on a mission. If I'm on a mission and you're a roadblock in my way, I'm gonna move you out of the way. And sometimes people might have taken that personally. So I would tell my younger self to be a little bit more patient.
Well, cheers to you, Donovan.
Yes.
And I also want to say, and our viewers probably know this, you know, you were the first celebrity guest I wanted to have on the show when I started 3 years ago. And it meant so much that you said yes and that you came on the show. This was during pandemic.
Yes.
And we did a virtual interview.
Yes.
And 3 years later to be able to do another one in person, and it really feels like a full circle moment. But when I say, like, you know, things really happen for a reason. The reason why I wanted you to be my first guest was because I loved what you have done, what you've accomplished, what you've meant, what you mean, what you represent, and it just feels like that journey, I feel like I'm on in my own way, and so thank you.
From day one, from the day that I met you till today, I am one of your support system. I am, like, I mean, again, I have an incredible platform around the globe, and I see you doing incredible things, and you know that I'm one of the people that you can call and be like, hey, let me bounce this thing off you. Because so consider me either Uncle Donovan or Big Brother Donovan.
Yes,
all
the things.
Hey, it's BG, and I want to know, what do you think about what you just watched? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below, but also make sure to check out even more great content like this video and this video over here. And if you haven't subscribed to the Brandon Gona Show, do so right now by clicking this button right here.